That do you think that India's neighborhood policy could be a crucial factor in reversing America's 2016 no to yes in 2046, when the world will get an Indian candidate to elect the United Nations Secretary General?
You don't think anyone in his right mind should predict what the world will be like in 2046? Whether there will even be a United Nations as we know it today in 2046 cannot be taken for granted. So I prefer not to think about such speculations. All I can say is that India's neighborhood policy is valuable in its own right, not with any other consideration. I don't think the US thought about our neighborhood policy when they made their decision of 2006. The neighborhood policy is something in India's self-interest as well as in the interest of all our neighbors. I'm a big believer in what we call asymmetrical neighborhood relations. Even when I was minister, I made a speech suggesting this, that we, being the biggest country in the subcontinent, must give more than we take. And I think that's the right way to approach, and I believe that all our smaller neighbors should have a positive approach from India.
Last month in Delhi, Kissinger defended his 1971 notorious tilt and has laid a wrath at Indiraji Samadhi, saying, "I felt I owed it to her." Even he stated that in case of conflict between India and Pakistan, or India and Bangladesh or Sri Lanka, the US may part company with India. Do you find the underlying indications does commensurate Trump's South Asian policy?
Well, look, I'm not a fan of Kissinger's 1971 approach. When I met him in New York and spoke to him about it, he said something very different to me. But the perception is that it was the geopolitical realities of that time. Any decision that they would make tomorrow, if there were to be a conflict with India and Pakistan, would not be based on the geopolitics of 1971, but of today. So I'm not expecting at all that what Mr. Kissinger in his 90s to say will govern American policymakers. I hope there will be no conflict anywhere in the subcontinent between any two countries in the subcontinent. But if it is, number one, the reasons for it will be very different from 71. Number two, the US will be having a whole different set of considerations from 1971. And number three, we are in a different position in terms of our vulnerability to superpower influence than we were in 1971. It may well be that any superpower might take a certain position and the contending parties may completely ignore them. And that's also possible in this world. Look what's been happening throughout West Asia, the Middle East, and the conflicts in that area, whether it is Syria, whether it's Libya, whether it's most recently the Turkish attack on the Kurds. The superpower's influence has been absolutely minimal.
Does the Congress agree that the Bangladesh-India relationship has reached its highest peak? How do you see the failure of Tista water sharing as enshrined by the Dr. Manmohan Singh government? You did point out categorically in your manifesto that you will use modern technology to harness the waters of the Brahmaputra. What would be the fallout upon us?
Okay, first of all, as far as the relationship is concerned, it is in excellent shape. And I give a lot of credit to Bangladesh for their very constructive attitude towards India's interests and issues. And we've seen this in particular on the security front, where Bangladeshi cooperation in apprehending terrorists from northeastern India who have been seeking safe havens in Bangladesh, their apprehension by the Bangladeshi authorities, handing them over to the Indian authorities. This has been an extraordinary step of confidence building. So I would compliment Bangladesh on its very valuable contribution to ensuring that India and Bangladesh have such good relations today. As far as the Tista is concerned, as you know, the obstacle was never Delhi, whether it was the Manmohan Singh government or the Modi government. The concern has been the feelings of the West Bengal government. And in those days, Mamata Banerjee was an indispensable ally to the Manmohan Singh government, and her negative was indeed a veto. Today she is not a part of the Modi government. That gives the Modi government a little freer hand. As for the Brahmaputra, let me say that right now it is very much status quo, up and down, upstream and downstream. Our concern has been very much that China is doing a lot of construction upstream. Now, so far the Chinese have assured us, and all evidence confirms, that these are what is called run-of-the-water projects, where the water flows into a dam but flows out again and continues in the course of the river. So as long as the Chinese are not doing anything to reduce the flow to our side, we will see no reason for any concern or action. But it is true that there is no agreement between China and India, such as the Indus Waters Agreement between India and Pakistan. And therefore, there is not even an international legal obligation to permit a certain minimum flow downstream, that is to Nepal, India, and Bangladesh. And that is something that we would have to worry about if the Chinese government takes a different attitude. For the moment, I would not worry too much about it. But we certainly need to be vigilant. We do need to develop sophisticated technology. Once the water has come downstream to us, all of us, that is India, Bangladesh, and other countries affected in the area, will have to certainly take whatever necessary steps would be required to ensure that the customary rights of water users are protected.